Hello and welcome or welcome back. Today I am doing another ink review. And if you are new here, I am pretty new to fountain pens and fountain pen inks. So I am learning, and hopefully if you are new, you can learn along with me. I'm just doing ink swatches for now because when you purchase ink on a website, sometimes it's not clear how the color is going to actually look on actual paper. So hopefully this will help clear up some of those questions. So today I've got one by, again, I don't know how to pronounce this name, Wearingeul, I believe is how you pronounce that. And it's called Tinkerbell. And this is a really pretty color. They had several inks in this line from Peter Pan. And let's open this up. I got a couple of them. I bought the rest, but you know, the prices add up pretty quick. And these do include a swatch card that already has the color of the ink on it, but I'm going to avoid that because I don't want to spoil anything. So what I do is I will do my own swatch here on one of these cards, and then we will swatch it on the various papers. So here is how the bottle looks, and one of the cool things about these bottles, I don't know if that's going to show up. So there's Tinkerbell, and I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up. She disappears. Let me see if I can. Yep. Okay. That's about as good as I can do. So that's how she is. It says Tinkerbell, and then it says Peter and Wendy, and then she disappears. So hopefully the camera is picking that up. It's like little hologram labels. It is a shimmer ink. You can see the shimmers down there at the bottom. Right there. Okay, I'm going to shake this up. But yeah, it's got a hologram bottle, which I think is really cool, or label, I mean. All right, let's go ahead and open this. Every now and then, get an ink, and it's got some really cool effect. Either the bottle is neat, or the label in this case, or the ink itself, and it's always fun to discover those things. All right, so I'm just going to lay this ink down. This apparently is not a very dark colored ink. Sometimes I think it's because the ink isn't sticking to this glass rod and then it's not getting laid down properly, but I think in this case it really is just a light ink. I'll do some colors outside the line here. And then what I try to do is I try to make a pool of ink on one side so we can kind of see. Sometimes that draws out some of the properties. Do that a little bit here. All right. I seem to have, let me rinse this off first, but I seem to have caused some bubbles, so let's see if I can pop those. There's a whole bunch of tiny ones. Get that last one. Anyway, sometimes they pop on their own and sometimes not. Sometimes I use the little rubber end of this. Will sometimes pop up. There we go. There, perfect, okay. Okay, so that's done. Let me just put a lid back on this because we are going to need to shake this up for the other tests. All right, got that. All right, so we got to write the name. It's Tinkerbell. There we go. And then what we'll do is set this aside to dry, and after it's dry we'll take a look at it. And there we go. Okay, and then I will rinse that off. And what we're going to start with next is the copy paper. So I just use this cheap copy paper. Let me pull some off of here, because you never know how it's going to look, right? We need to test it, because if you can just use copy paper for your favorite ink, you don't need to buy the expensive stuff. But sometimes the effects you want don't show up on this cheaper paper, so we will find out. What I'm going to do, since this jar is shallow enough, I'm just going to stir up the shimmers rather than shaking the whole bottle. There we go. Yeah, this is a really pretty muted green. It's a little bit different from the last green I tried. And usually the shimmers will show up on copy paper. You don't usually need a fancy paper for the shimmer effect, but for things like shading and sheen and stuff you typically do. But we'll find out how this performs. And if there are any inks that you would like to see me try, let me know down in the comments below. And if I can get my hands on them, we'll do a review. I'd really like to try some of the inks that you're interested in seeing. Alright. And then we gotta do Tinkerbell. There. Little stick figure Tinkerbell. Okay. So far this looks cute. Very nice green, very pretty shimmer. We're gonna set this aside so it can fully dry out. Alright, the next one we're gonna try is something called HP32 copy paper. It's just like regular copy paper, except it's a little bit better quality. It has a little bit smoother surface so that the ink doesn't just sink in and dry up right away. And this seems to allow the ink special properties to show up for some of the ink. So let's just see. And of course this is smoother, so the writing experience is nicer. It's smoother. Your pen just kind of glides across. You don't feel it gripping the fibers of the paper like you do with the cheap copy paper. So if that is important to you, you might want to consider making a journal out of this or something. Or finding a journal with smooth paper. This is HP 32, and then draw some lines. Sometimes the shading will show up. If there is any, it'll show up in these lines. Okay, so we need these little splotches on the side to dry, but so far, this is a really nice green. It's a little bit more subtle and muted rather than being like vibrant and neon or something. Alright, here is the Tomo River paper. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more ink reviews. That way YouTube will know to suggest them to you. And then I like to rinse the pen off in between just to make sure we're keeping everything the same. Alright. The Tomo River paper is very, very thin and smooth. Most fountain pen inks look really, really nice on this paper. Especially if you have inks that have a lot of special effects going on. Trying to find a smooth side of this pen to write on. I think I scratched the paper with this pen by accident. Okay, that's better. Alright. Let's go with these. This is Tomo River. And if you have not tried Tomo River paper before, or if you would like to get some, I do have a link down below in the description for some Tomo River paper on Amazon. It is an affiliate link, so if you use it, it does help me out, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. So I suggest checking that out if you would like to help me out in that way. I appreciate it. And that will help me to restock my paper when I run out. Alright, there we go. So now I will say on this paper the difference is drastic. So I'll show you here in a second. We're going to give this a moment to dry. I'm going to clean this off here. I'm looking at the swatch we did earlier on that swatch card, and it is definitely not dry. So probably going to need to put that in front of the pan. So again, there's that bottle with the disappearing Tinkerbell. It's pretty cool. And the other thing I like about this, it's not the Disney version at all, which I can appreciate because it seems like sometimes, nothing against Disney necessarily, but it seems like everything starts to look the same after a while. And this is definitely different, which is a lot of fun. So I'll put that back there. Okay. So here's the swatch that we made. So far, it's got this beautiful, like a soft golden shimmer, and the different variations in the green. It's like it has shading, but it also, how do I describe it? There's like a very light green down to dark green. Let me set this in front of a fan for a moment and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. I went ahead and put the swatch in front of the fan, but also I put the Tomo River paper in front of the fan as well because I want to show you something. So first of all, here is that swatch again. It has a beautiful golden shimmer that's just barely getting picked up on the camera there. I'm going to try with the light in a moment so that you can see that. But also the variation in the different greens, like over here, it's almost like ghostly. And then you've got this lovely shading going on, and down in the name there, where the name is written, you can see the different, like subtly different colors of green. This is so pretty and hard to describe. I do struggle with descriptions as it is, but this is making it more difficult. So there's a drastic difference in the way the ink performs with the paper, which is not unusual, but this is very, very obvious. So on here, you've got this kind of pale green, like almost pastel-y green, kind of very pretty, very neutral, natural color. It's very pretty ink. You can see the shimmer just fine. It's very nice. But the color itself is somewhat flat compared to what I would expect looking at the description of the ink, right? Then you go to this, and you could already see that this ink is more on the, this is HP 32. So you can see how on the HP 32 the ink is already more vibrant. There's a little bit of variation in color. It kind of pops up off the page a little more. And of course you've got that gorgeous shimmer that shows up. And in the writing as well, it just seems like a nicer ink on this paper. But then the Tomo River paper, and it's like a completely different ink. Like the changes in this is so drastic. So if you're looking at these swatches here, on this swatch on the Tomo River, not only do you have the shimmer itself is just pretty, but then you've got such a variation in like the shading with the light green to the dark green and the medium green, and then the shimmer, it just seems to complement it more, and it's so pretty. And then on the writing, it really goes through all the different variations of the color in the writing itself. So this is one where it would be very pretty to write with. You don't have to make swatches to see, like you don't have to do this to see all the colors. You can get it just by writing on nice paper, which is really, really cool. So let me grab the light and I'll show you how the shimmers actually look. So let's grab this. Okay, so right away, you can see how that just lights up. It is so pretty on all that shimmer. The shimmer by itself is very pretty on all the papers. So of course the shimmer is not gonna, the shimmer is always gonna look nice. But it's subtle and it doesn't just take over the whole performance of the ink like some inks do, which, I mean, sometimes it's totally fine. I think it's very pretty, but I kind of like here how it just complements it without overdoing it. And hopefully the camera is getting all that. All right, and then we'll show you the swatch here. And now you can, with the light on it, you could really see the shimmers. But see how it just kind of complements it without overdoing it. It's not, you don't always want it to be all about the shimmers only. Very sparkly and pretty. And you can see in the shimmers in the writing down there, how that's going to look, how it just catches the light. Anyway, this is a very beautiful ink. I really like this shade of green. I think it looks very natural and beautiful, and it has this beautiful like magical sparkle to it that just really goes well with it. I really like this ink. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully the swatches have helped you out if you're trying to choose between greens or something. And I forget what I was going to say. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I should be back soon. I hope to see you all then. Have a great day.